was always, it's just like with the stimulus package. That second stimulus was just for the people that were, the unions, to grease the pockets of the people that got Obama in office.
What do you think about what's going on with the teachers in Wisconsin? Wisconsin? They're busing people in too. Is that part of Acorn's thing too?
Yes, and we found out that Organizing for America is also tied into that. Organizing for America and Acorn are basically the same thing. And just to let people know, I always tell folks, if you care about your kids, you don't support these teachers' unions. If you look at how the kids that they're pushing out, they can barely read. And then it's kind of, oh, the reason why they can't get a job is because of the man. I'm like, no, the reason why they can't get a job is because they can't read, and you want them on social programs. It's ridiculous. Yes. Yes.
What are your Tea Party? You're organizing, what's their name?
The one that I started is called the Christmas Addicts Tea Party. If you go to ChristmasAddictsTeaParty.com, you can check us out. Dr. Earl Johnson is running it. He's a black conservative out of Texas, and he's been doing a great job. And we're also thinking of starting the next one in Pennsylvania because we have 2 black conservatives there that are willing to work with the other Tea Party groups. And keep in mind, like I said, this isn't about self-identifying, because at our first meeting we were represented by over 7 Tea Parties in the state of Texas, and we are part of the Texas Tea Party Federation. We made sure that people understand we're in the heart of all this. We're not trying to pull off to the side.
What was that group you mentioned, something for America?
Organizing for America. It used to be Obama for America, and then he got elected, and it became Organizing for America.
And you said it's the Christmas Addicts?
Christmas Addicts. Yes.
Is there any suggestions you got on first steps? She's talking about reaching into the communities, reaching within. You know, if somebody was going to start trying to do that, what would be some of the first steps that you would recommend?
Well, I always tell people, if you ever saw Acorn on TV, they always made it seem like it was black people organizing black people. But on the national staff, I was one of the few blacks. It was really young white kids with trust funds that were out there. I kid you not. And that was the secret. They were the ones that were organizing entire communities of black people, but Acorn was telling everyone else how hard it was and how dangerous it was. So the first step is just...
How do they brainwash people? What I don't know. How do they get these people that are brainwashed?
The kids, you start with their kids, they're idealistic, they're hungry, they want to make their lives matter. I wanted to make my life matter. And I'm just telling you this story because it's so true, and it's embarrassing. But the day of September 11th, I had been out, the night before I had been out drinking. And I come home to my mom's place because I didn't feel like driving back to Tuscaloosa, and I'm in the bed and I'm hungover. And she comes in and she turns on the TV and she just walks out. Doesn't say a word. And so I'm watching this, and I just can't explain to you the type of feelings that I had, not only for our country, but for the fact that I was wasting my life away. And that was when I went up to D.C. It was 3 months after September 11th, because I wanted my life to matter. And I see a lot of kids in the same boat, and that's why I say we have to get them out before they become true believers, because once you take that idealism and you turn it into something sinister, it's hard to pull them back. And then once they become vested in the organization, their bodies are buried in the same place the other people's bodies are, so they all protect each other.
Wow.
And they pay them good too, so.
Well, not really.
Not really?
That's why I said they're trust funds. Because we were getting like $25,000 a year, and in D.C. that's barely enough money to, do anything with. So it's really about getting the higher ups were paid good. The lower people were paid just enough to survive, but they really were given that feeling. I remember Zach Paulette, that's the executive director of Project Vote, and he was the Acorn political director, getting up at a meeting in 2007 and saying that we could be like Obama. He said he supervised Obama in the 90s, and that Acorn produces leaders. So basically he was telling us we could be the next president, us, community organizers.
There's a group called Teach for America that's recruiting teachers, these trust fund babies, and placing them in teaching jobs in low-income school districts around the country. Are they in any way connected with?
If they're working to Teach for America, they're probably affiliated with the unions. The NEA, the National Education Association, gave millions of dollars to Acorn, and they printed all of their annual reports. There is a quid pro quo with these union organizations. Acorn helps with the protesting and the organizing, and they keep them in business because think of all the money that the union spent to get Obama elected. they have a vested interest in keeping themselves going. But at the same time, like in New York, they don't even want to turn over the ratings to show that the kids, that they're failing out. But they keep giving themselves raises. I know Chris Christie was talking to the lady that was making over $100,000, and some of them make more than the mayor in certain places because they're unionized. Public sector unions are a danger to this country. When you look at what happened in New York, they refused to plow the streets because they were upset. And the unions did, and a baby was brain dead because he couldn't get to the hospital. A man died on a platform at the subway because the streets weren't plowed, the tracks weren't plowed. This is what we're dealing with. So what happens now that the TSA is unionized? That is very scary. What's next? We have to look at that. The firefighters are going to go on strike. The policemen aren't going to come out when you call. We have to stop this encroachment of the unions, and if anyone is familiar with the Employee Free Choice Act, otherwise known as card check, they are going to try to push that through again. And if they do that, that is forced unionism. It means that if they get a number of people to check the cards, and it's not secret ballot, and they are allowed to come and coerce you at your house, at the grocery store, at Walmart, and make you sign that card. They'll put it up on the board and say, Jane or John didn't sign the card. He doesn't want unionism. And then you've got all your friends and all that pressure coming against you. It takes away the secret ballot and the choice of the American worker. We have right-to-work states across the country that are trying to fight this. But when Obama's pushing this through, and as you've seen with health care, he doesn't care what we think. He's just going to push it through. And that's why he's president and not Hillary. As you remember in the 90s, they stopped Hillary Care. They stopped universal health care when they tried to do it through Clinton. And you guys need to understand that ACORN was started in Arkansas in the 70s. At the same time, Bill Clinton was coming up through political power. How do you think he got his reputation in the black community? How do you think that he was the one that the blacks identified with? There's a video out there when he got the nomination in 1992, and you look to the right, the first person he hugs is Zach Paulette of ACORN. Not Hillary, but Zach Paulette. This was something that they tried to push through, but Clinton was an operator, and Clinton was smooth. And when he saw that the opposition wasn't going his way, he wanted a second term, and he moved to the middle, and he stayed there. And that's what they couldn't afford with another Clinton, and that's why they said Obama was the choice, and Obama had been the choice for years.
Yeah, you mentioned the card check bill. One thing the Republicans have right now, they control the checkbook, which is a lot of power in Washington, D.C. How much true grit, fire in the belly, courage do the Republicans have in the House of Representatives to cut funding and just cut to the bone what the Senate wants, what Obama wants?
One of the good things about being who I am is that I got access at CPAC. I got a lot of access I shouldn't have gotten. And I was sitting there listening as two congressmen were talking about Boehner. And apparently Boehner wants to push through some version of cutting a few billion off of Obamacare and then telling everybody that they have to fund it. So if you take off maybe 3% off of, $4 trillion, $5 trillion and say we've defunded it, that it'll be okay. And that's what he's trying to do. I really think that Boehner needs to keep his promises. And that's something that we don't have right now.
Well, that kind of leads me to the second thing I wanted to ask. I don't hear much enthusiasm to march on Washington, D.C. People have this, people may like Rush Limbaugh, but this Rush Limbaugh mentality, oh, we've got Republicans in office, let's sit back and see how they do. I think we need to march on Washington and say, you screw up, you're gone.
I
Just
think
like we did
another,
in 2000.
They know that.
see, what happened is that the Tea Party movement, we started off with anger and frustration and trying to figure out how to get our voices heard. But I really think we're in the second phase of that, which is where it's time to put down the signs, and we're going to vote at the ballot. The ballot box is our next protest. We have to start getting ready for 2012. I know you might not want to hear this, but what we did in 2010 was great. But we had to go with what we had. How many conservatives could we pull here and pull there? Christine O'Donnell, Sharon Angle. There were people that, thank you. There were people that, there were people that weren't really qualified. Now we have a chance to train true conservative leaders, to build a farm team to where we have folks to choose from across the country. If we get these leaders ready for 2012, when they don't do their jobs, we have folks to step up and take their place. And they take our threats more seriously because right now they're all we got. Yes.
What else does Steve King tell you?
Let's talk about it.
Well, that's what I've talked with some of our legislators here in the state, and when there were several people that were running on the Republican ticket that I thought weren't conservative enough, and I'm like, these people aren't what we need. He said, vote them in now, and let's work on getting them out later. But we need to get control of the House and the Senate, and then let's work on dragging and pulling them screaming with us, and if we can't get that, then let's put someone in their place next time, but we need to get control.
Exactly, as I told the guys in Texas, like, don't put any pictures on the wall. Don't get comfortable to unpack your bags, because you might be next. And that's how we have to let them know, but we have to put teeth behind that. And the only way to do that is to identify these candidates. And that's why I'm working with American Majority. I'm the national spokesperson. And one of the things that we have done is we've started the New Leaders Project. We're asking Tea Party groups across the country to identify 10 leaders that can run from everything from county dog catcher to school board. We have to take our country back at the local level. The local level. We have to go out there and get those people. And then what happens is they might not be ready to run for national office, but they're perfect for local office. And then 2 or 3 years from now, they move up. How do you think Acorn did? Look at Antonio Villarosa in Los Angeles. He was the assemblyman there. He couldn't get mayor the first time he ran. Then he got with Acorn, he got the black vote, and next thing you know, he was mayor of Los Angeles. If it wasn't for Jerry Brown, he probably would have ran for governor. Now they've got a man for life who's moving up through California politics. We have to get our people in now, and we've got to get them at the local level, and that also solves the problem of why we're teaching same-sex marriage and having sex ed to being taught to 4-year-olds. Because now when we control the school boards, we'll control our local legislatures, and we'll control even the Board of Elections. We have to become poll watchers and join the Board of Elections. There's so many different local offices that we could use that will influence national policy. I'll take one more question.
I'm on the executive committee for the Tulare County Republican Party. We're going down Saturday, and that's the things that they're trying to work. Both of the people that's running for the head of the Republican Party here, one of their main things is from the courthouse. We're going to work real hard on starting county level, your board of education, your probate judges, your sheriff, your circuit clerks, and whatever. That's where most of you elected officials move up from those places. And
Yes.
Both of them, that's number one on their priority is to work county, lower levels, getting people worked into that. In fact, we're working now trying to identify people to run in Talladega County for midterm elections now.
And one last point to consider, pay attention to judges. A lot of these things are being decided by activist judges across the country. We need to pay more attention to the judges and the attorney generals too, and let the attorney generals know that if they don't follow through with exposing corruption, we'll get rid of them too. But thank you guys for coming out, and thank you so much for your patience.
Anita, we just want to thank you for coming and speaking to the Rainy Day Patriots, and we're honored that we are the first group in your hometown that you've spoken to. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
God bless you.